Mm. So he's going to be caffeinated in the evening. No, not really. This is COFOH Live Undead. I am your host, Daniel Crosier, and I am joined by the amazing Kirk Thatcher. Yeah! Something on my face. Ooh, come on now. All right. Yay, technical glitches. How are you, Kirk?
You're not going to throw Pepto-Bismol on my face, are you?
No, but if I was able to, well, that would be quite the feat over online.
You could do it. Yeah, I mean, most of the blood in movies now is digitally added later, so they don't have wardrobe changes.
Yeah, well, we'll do that in post-production.
Post.
Yeah.
Well, that was a rather animated and excited opening.
Yes, we try.
It pushed me back into the blur.
Yeah. Sorry, we're not losing you now. Now you're crisp. It's like you're in 6K.
Crisp and clear. I paid for those K. I paid for all those K.
Nice. Yeah.
I mean, there's two K's in my name, so already we're starting in high def.
Oh, there you are.
That's it's a thinker. It's a thinker, Dan. You'll get it later.
Yeah, it's slow. Clearly, it's going to take me a while to wrap my head around it. Kirk, thanks so much for joining us. I've been wanting to talk to you for such a long time, and it's an absolute privilege.
You and the FBI.
Uh-oh, dear. Are we going to have to put you into protective custody?
Well, yeah, I hide out from them in tiki bars.
Oh, excellent. Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of which, what an amazing shirt you got on.
Yeah, I was just at Tiki Oasis, cheap free plug for them, which is an amazing tiki festival. I said it's a drinking party with a tiki problem. And I got this great kind of haunted colors, and it's got little skulls and I don't know, nice. Scary tiki men from an artist named Mick Biff.
Nice.
Yeah, I love it. I love these colors. And I was going to wear a hat with it, but the old cans got in the way.
Yeah, I know that feeling. Got the earplugs too, but yeah.
So I want your viewers to know that because of the strike, I can only talk about my clothing. We agree that this is really what I'm wearing, the clothing and items in my background. So hope you guys enjoy that.
The blurry items, mine are at least, have some definition and detail.
The SAG and WGA rules are very strict. Right. I can only talk about blurry things. Yeah. Besides my foggy constitution after being at the Tiki Oasis.
Oh man. Yeah. Kirk, I've been following your career. Ever since I know. Ever since I found out your work in the Muppets, and then like almost 10 years ago, caught up with Jim Henson's Creature Challenge, and you were
right.
You were one of the judges on that.
I was the pretty one.
Yeah, I would say so. It's that beard and the hat.
Well, I was the prettiest.
Distinct.
I was the prettiest man. I mean, I don't want to piss Brian off, but I mean, Gigi and Beth, I don't know who's prettier between those two. But in terms of bearded men with long hair, I was the prettiest.
Yeah. Oh man, that was an amazing show. After coming off of like watching shows like Face Off and leading into that was for me, that was so much more engaging.
It was a blast to work on. I said it was the best money I ever made. I basically walked onto a set, like, and they were very secretive about what we're going to see. Like, they literally had a wall up, like if they had the creature stuff, out to go on stage, they had a wall up in front of it. So we walked on, we got like headset, mic check, whatever makeup we need to get done. And then the show started, and it was pretty much what you see with edit, chunks taken out to like, cover anything. But, so we were there for like, 2-3 hours just watching everything. And then we got lunch and went home, and, we got a nice little check for that. It was great. And, those contestants killed themselves, and they were such, wow. It was such a joy to do because, you sit there and just watch this amazing work. The funniest thing was they kept telling me, well, say something bad about it. I'm like, well, there's nothing bad about it. This guy built this in 2 days. Or this gal made this, in whatever, 12 hours. And they said, well, say what you would have done differently. I'm like, they just wanted, I was so overly enthusiastic about, because that's just my personality. I'm kind of amazed, but anybody can get anything done. So they would be like, not to be a jerk, but actually watching Face Off, Glenn Hetrick really nailed it. He's the, Glenn is. And I met him, and I thought I'd never met the man. I knew who he was. I never met him. And I just thought he was kind of a dour guy. He was always like, right. Well, Daniel, I see what you did. I think, your shirt was interesting going with black. I don't know if I would. And yeah. And the Count was sort of an obvious choice. And, I was like, God, this guy's a hard. I meet him like, this is lovely, nice guy. I was like, man, you nailed that kind of like, well, here's the thing I'm thinking, but I'm not going to give any inclination that I'm impressed until the end. I sucked at that. In fact, it was so bad at it, they ran a poll. Who's the easiest judge to impress? Kirk. I think Gigi was harder to read than me. I was like, oh, that's amazing. I was like, I don't know, it was funny. But I obviously love doing the show. I wish we got to do a second season.
Oh yeah, I was a little heartbroken, when it didn't get renewed, but that was the magic, first season. I mean, I guess that's the nature of television too.
Yeah. Ooh, there's a good question somebody just asked online about Franken.
Yeah,
Frankenfurter. Yeah, I helped create that bit and the Frankenfurter puppet, and I love that bit. That was one of my favorite bits. Little sketches on the Cat Cora was a cooking with Cat Cora, and we had a Muppet chef, and he worked with Cat, done by Tyler Bunch, and it was a really fun show. But there was a Frankenfurter, what was it called? Frankenweenie sketch. I forget. I guess it was Frankenstein weenie, whatever. Yes, I was really involved in that and getting the set and kind of really having fun with it.
Man, that's cool.
That's puppets and horror.
Yeah, exactly. Well, one of the go-tos too is you directed the Muppets Haunted Mansion.
Yes, that was a blast. I mean, I think in the mid-90s, Jim Lewis and I wrote a Muppet Halloween special, which was it started as a special, and then it grew into a movie. And then they didn't do it, and so it turned into the video game Muppet Monster Mayhem or something.
Oh, no kidding.
It was, wow. And essentially it was the premise of the movie was the Muppets go to Transylvania. Bunsen Honeydew's uncle has passed away, and they go to Transylvania to basically so Bunsen can be there for the reading of the will and all that. And
nice.
And they stay the night, and we had a butler character named Surly, and he goes, "I'm Surly," and they're like, "You certainly are," and he was kind of dour. It was going to be a great human guy, like a Tim Curry or I don't know, with a lot of people we wanted to, that could play it. And one by one, they disappear, and then monster versions or their version of kind of classic monsters, which they did in the game. Kermit was Froggenstein. Piggy was the bride of Froggenstein. Gonzo was one of my favorite gags, was Nosferatu, the vampire of sweat. So we wanted to stick his nose in your armpit. It was very creepy. Rizzo was basically Quasimodo. Clifford was the creature from the African American Lagoon.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, you could make those jokes back then. Fozzie was a werebear. So it was really fun and silly. And then So that didn't get made. And then we wrote like a Ghostbusters, the Muppets in the Afterlife, trying to get back to the living, kind of sort of a Beetlejuice kind of vibe,
Nice.
Ghostbusters thing. And that was a feature film. And then we wrote, so I think I'd written 3 different versions. We wrote another TV special about the Muppets in New York doing a Broadway play, and the Muppet Monsters got upset because they were never included. It was Uncle Deadly and a bunch of Muppet monsters like Big Mean Carl and that, and they wanted to be a part of the play. So it just been trying to get, I just like Halloween is, there's like 8 Muppet Christmas things and no Halloween ones. And it's the second biggest holiday in America in terms of dollars spent. People love it. Kids love it. Adults love it. It's just, why have we not done this? And so, the Muppets have been at Disney since 2004. Yeah. And I pitched to the new man. They changed management about 4 or 5 years ago. And the new managers, I said, Muppets and monsters and Halloween, let's do something. So a couple of years into their new reign, they said, hey, what do you think about a Muppet Haunted Mansion mashup? I'm like, that's perfect, because I'm a huge fan of the Haunted. I can sing the Haunted Mansion song. I can hum the themes. I pretty much could do most of the narration. Welcome, foolish mortals. I'm your host. So loved it. And so that was a blast. So I co-wrote it and directed it. And, we didn't have a lot of time and money. This is me tooting at least our horn. Is the Muppet Haunted Mansion movie, or the Haunted Mansion movie that's out right now.
Yeah.
With, Owen Wilson and all that. Cost $150 million. We did it for 7.5. Nice. We did it for about 8.
Oh,
and I've
wow.
Three musical numbers with over 100 Muppets and ghosts, and, they had ghosts.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think considering dollars spent, we produced a superior product.
Oh, wow. That's, man. Yeah, when it came out last year, Elise and I were really entranced with it.
2 years ago.
Was it 2 years ago?
Yeah, man.
Oh my god!
They run it every year. I think it's on there all the time.
Yeah.
Last year was Werewolf by Night, which we can't talk about.
No.
My work on that because of the strike. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. God. Yeah. Yeah, the Muppets, Haunted Mansion was just so fun, and seeing all the celebrity cameos in that. God, they have to love just working with the Muppets, being there. And,
they do. That's pretty much, we get them because they're not paid very much. They're not given star salaries, but also they were all shot in like 2 days. I think Will Arnett was 2 days. Taraji was there 2 days. Everyone else was 1 day. So what's funny about Will Arnett is at the end of the day, after directing and kind of speaking in a loud voice, my voice becomes Will Arnett's voice. It was funny. The end of the first day, and we're cramming like song numbers and all this stuff in with him. They're very full shoot days. And he said, hey man, I said, you check in with your actors to see how they did and if there's anything they didn't like or wanted to do different. He's like, hey man, I noticed it's kind of a chaos in there. Like everyone's telling you what you should do, and how to do this. I'm like, yeah, I know it's a bit of a democracy. He goes, yeah, you can't let that happen. I said, well, it's sort of been established before I was there. I said it's even worse as a writer, as a director. At least at some point, you're like, okay, this is what we're doing, and they have to shut up and do it.
Yeah.
Not that I run a set like that, but he's like, all right, well, I'm not saying this to knock you down. I'm just saying this as a fellow director. You got to kind of run the show. I'm like, no, I'm well aware of it. And thank you for noticing. I feel like I've been seeing. Well, the Muppets are kind of controlled chaos above the frame line and below.
Right.
And I kind of love it. I sort of like controlling, herding cats, as it were. And I mean, the thing that came from Jim Henson way before I was involved was this collaborative energy. It's not like shut up and say your lines. It's like, well, this is what I want to do. And we had a lot of restrictions because we basically shot 90% of that against just one big TV screen, as I called it. It was a virtual wall.
Wow.
So it was like 10 foot by 20 foot screen. And most of our backgrounds were digital. They were made in Unreal Engine by my art director, production designer, I should say, Darcy Prevost. Mm-hmm. Amazing job. Basically working with a bunch of computer artists to essentially build 90% of the Haunted Mansion in a computer. And so you could actually walk, like with a joystick if you wanted to, through our haunted mansion, which was a Muppetized version of it. I mean, we went down. So Darcy, my production designer, is as big a mansion fan, if not bigger than I am. And she got down into she was literally doing, she did a Muppet version of the haunted mansion wallpaper with like stylized gonzos. Yeah. I mean, we did deep cuts. If you watch that thing in freeze frame, like so many little moments that, are amazing in the haunted mansion that artists made, we did a Muppet version of, which was half of the fun for she and I and our prop builders and everything. Nice. And again, out of the crew, she and I were the huge mansion fans who would just kind of riff off each other. Oh my God, we should do this, we should do that. And so it was really fun. And again, there's 3 rides at Disneyland that affected my taste, my childhood. Mansion #1, Pirates #2, Tiki Room #3. And it's sort of literally, I mean, there was so deeply ingrained into my artistic sensibilities and spirit. And I mean, along with a million other people. I mean, that's and that was fun too, that we kind of got the mansion fans and the Muppet fans together, which is a pretty crossed over Venn diagram anyway. But having something that the mansion fans were like, oh my God, you did this and that, down to even the your attention, please. Please stays inside. And that was me when we were writing. I said, oh my God, we have to stop in the middle of this musical number because it's in the ballroom where every time I've had it stop, it's almost been there. I said, we have to stop. Just have everyone, basically stop and look around and hear this. So that was my one little cameo. I got to do the your attention, please. Please stay in your doom buggy until the ride resumes, whatever it was. Yeah. So I loved doing that project. I want to do more of that kind of thing.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. We got another question. Do you think that there's a chance for Muppets Wizard of Oz to be added on Disney Plus?
I know other people have asked me. I have no control over that. I haven't been told. I think it's still available on DVD, like through Amazon, I think. But I have no knowledge of why it's not on there and if it will be on there. I know it's a rights thing. They have to pay. They have to pay people, and Disney hates paying people. In fact, there's a strike going on about that right now.
I know.
So to be honest, that was a little poke the bear moment.
Right.
But I don't know why. I wish it were. It's not my favorite of my pieces. I think Haunted Mansion is probably my favorite, but it's a fun thing. I love a lot of it.
Nice.
So I'm sorry, I don't know.
Yeah, well, going back to Haunted Mansion, I think was it you and was it Darcy won Emmys for like best art direction?
Our Darcy one, I did not win.
Okay,
she totally deserved the credit. She and I just would brainstorm, and I designed a couple puppets for it. I think I designed how Fozzie would look as puppet design is how I started with the Muppets. So yeah, I did some artwork of what Fozzie would look like as the Hatbox Ghost. I designed the plant monster. Might be another thing in there. I did some design work on, but it all goes to Darcy. She had a blast, and she and I just got excited, and she would go, "Look at this! That's amazing!" Literally, it was like no notes, just go have fun. And she would, she doubled down on everything, and like more than you could even, you're like, that's amazing, and even more than I expected. And then we had, not to give short shrift to the computer artist who then took her drawings and took our notes of like color schemes and all that and did amazing work. We had a wonderful little company that did it's called AR Wall is the name of the company. At least that's what it was called when we did it. And that was kind of what we used, the, giant TV screen with a live link to the camera. So whenever you move the camera, the background would move accordingly. So, yeah.
Oh, wow. That, kind of switching gears, kind of going over to Netflix.
Yeah. The 2024 election. I think, that's not the gears you want to switch.
If that's going to be televised on Netflix, we're screwed. But going over to like Netflix and working on the Curious creations of Christine McConnell. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that is amazing.
That was a blast.
So it's still produced within, well, obviously you've got the reins on that, and working with Christine.
Yeah, what happened was the Henson Company had found her through agents and all that, and they'd done a little test pilot to see, what a rough idea of what it'd be like. And then they came to me and they said, we need like a showrunner or director who knows this world and can work with Christine. Yeah. So I met with Christine, who was lovely and obviously an amazing talent. Mm-hmm. And so they kind of had an idea about the show. So I kind of took that and made it a show. And she and I collaborated on what the main characters were. And then I just went off with one friend essentially and wrote all the episodes. I think I wrote 4 of the 6 and then directed all of them, which was great. And, we did that thing. And Darcy was my production designer on that. And that was the first.
Oh, cool.
She was on. It's funny because we've talked about everything. She was originally on as, I think, art director on Creature Shop Challenge. So she helped build all the sets and do all the work to build the sets that we shot, the creature segments in. And then I thought she did such great work. Then when I met with her for Christine McConnell, and she and Christine hit it off. They've become really good friends. Cool. And so that's where we started. And she literally did that show for $1. So again, Darcy gets all this praise for that show. Looked great. And Christine was great and super fun to work with. She almost killed herself working on that. She would work like 22 hours making the stuff and make sure it looked perfect because she's a perfectionist. If you see her stuff.
Yep.
And I remember Darcy would be like, Christine, you need to sleep. You need to eat. And what's even funnier to me is Christine thinks she looks, a lot of women don't think they look their best. And we're like, you look amazing. Yeah. You look like a robot, perfect wife, and she's like, no, I'm terrible. And we're like, okay, no.
Very statuesque.
Yeah, she's beautiful. And she's she's everything what most women, or what, I'd say our culture thinks, she's 6 feet tall and wears heels. Yeah. So I got along with great. She has a dark, quirky sense of humor like I do. Obviously, if you've seen her stuff. So that was fun. It was incredibly stressful just because the amount of time. And again, we did that show for $1, but man, we were all in. We were all in it. We loved her. We loved the idea. We so wanted a second season. And Netflix, I think, thought they were getting a cooking show, which if you know cooking, the budgets are like 150 grand. They're just nothing. And we pulled that out for about, a little over twice that. But I think when we came back, their first question was, can you do it for less money? And we're like, we did it for no money already. Yeah. They have three full Henson Creature Shop creatures.
Yeah.
And, set decoration and a giant house and all that. And so that was, and, we wrote the scripts. We shot that entire show, I think, in 15 days.
Oh my God. Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
20 minutes, 25 minutes. So yeah, we were cranked on that thing.
Oh man.
Yeah. But it was, we had a great crew, again, kind of a bare bones budget, but I'm super proud of that show. And I wish I've been trying to sell. It's really hard to sell original ideas right now. In fact, I just been pitching to various places I know, and everyone's like, do you have any IP that, do you have a children's book that you own the rights to? I'm like, no. Do you want to make another Batman thing? No, I want to do original stuff. I mean, Christine was the IP on that, obviously, and all the stuff she had done. But I just love making up new worlds and new characters, and those characters were so fun. And the Puppeteers was like my dream team. I mean, Drew Massey and Mike Oostrom, where Drew was Edgar, the werewolf, just that kind of dry voice. Yep. And then Morgana Ignis was in the costume, in the suit. Okay. She's amazing. She's an amazing performer and a lovely. These are all friends of mine that I've worked with for years. Actually, Morgana I'd never worked with before. I'd known her because she's always she was always doing modeling monster makeups and costume work at there's this big monster maker show in LA called Monster Palooza.
Yeah,
and so she was always there dressed as mummies and vampires, and they put this amazing makeup on her, and she was just always getting into character. And she's a great actress. Nice. And anyway, so I got to work with her, and it's just a great cast, the Puppeteers, and they would do these amazing ad libs.
Wow.
And then Colleen who's an actress, who's a hilarious on-camera actress. She did Rose, the crazy effed up raccoon, who was just, again, all three of them, they would just ad lib. We'd write these scripts and work on them, and then they would just take it to the next level. So that was fun. I just want to make more with those three characters if I could just take them.
Yeah.
And that was fun.
Yeah, it seemed like the first season you were just kind of introducing everybody, getting kind of easing into who these characters were. By the end of it, they seemed way better fleshed out, and there's that connectivity between all three of them.
The scenes where they're sitting at the kitchen table and just riffing on her, and then she talks to camera. That was one of the things I really wanted to do, is have her talk to camera, and they just think she's nuts.
Yeah.
Like they're like, I think Ranko's like, oh, the poor girl, she's obviously deluded,
Yeah.
And Rose, the rest, like, who's she talking to? I just because cooking shows are always talking to camera, like, well, she lives in this house with these, deranged creatures. They should think that she's the crazy one. So
yeah. And why not? Why not have her have a little bit of
that, well, that's very Muppets.
Especially with the human.
The Muppets were always, the Muppets were always very meta and breaking the fourth wall. So again, that's why I love that company and that Jim Henson's sense of humor. He and I clicked when we worked together, and Jerry Jewell, who wrote for the Muppets, who kind of mentored me into writing. We wrote Muppet Treasure Island together, and he was just great, and they just really enjoyed that silliness and that kind of, this isn't reality, folks, and that show. And Christine was so on board. She had said she wanted to go to the Muppets. I think they said, do you want to do a show? She goes, I'd like to do it. Not the Muppets, sorry, I should say the Henson Company. The Muppets at that point were owned by Disney, and so she was happy that they were doing it, and she got the Creature Shop creatures, which we did really fast.
Oh man, that's cool. Got another question. Same individual. Who filled in for Colleen Smith on Rose while she and her human character are in the same shot?
Our amazing puppeteer and our puppet captain, Timothy Lagasse, Lagasse. You can find him online. That guy killed himself. He was maintaining the puppets, doing the right hands, doing Rose when Colleen was being the evil cousin, I guess. Tim Lagasse was the unsung hero. He also did Bernard, the basement beast, which is basically just a pair of eyes. But he did the tentacle in the refrigerator. But Tim was our, chief cook and bottle washer, just filled in for all the puppeteers and then kept the puppets in shape. He was incredibly overworked. And then he would do Rose when Colleen was on camera and did a great job. And then Colleen would loop it. The Muppets now and the Henson Company have a tradition of, like, if Frank Oz is doing Piggy and Fozzie, then they would, whoever has the least amount of lines, that character would be performed by another puppeteer, and then he would loop it later. Or, play him in the close-up. If it's a wide shot, if it's a wide shot and you got both of them, then, in fact, they're pretty amazing, and this is a Muppet thing, they're pretty amazing at throwing their voices. Like, if Frank's doing Piggy and someone's doing Fozzie, and they kind of rehearsed it a couple times, the puppeteer doing Fozzie will be like, let's say it's, my voice going like, hey, Kermit, that sounds like a good idea. They would actually mime it, and Frank would do the voice because you're not seeing him. So Frank would be holding Piggy and doing Fozzie's voice, lip syncing live with Fozzie. Oh. And all the guys have done that. I mean, down the line, they're good at that. But it's pretty amazing when it happens. You're like, oh my god,
nice. Oh man, it sounds like just in camera magic.
Yeah, but that was a good question. People are kind of blown away when you see that. But yeah, Tim Lagasse gets a big shout out from me and making that show work so smoothly. Because again, we were bare bones.
Wow. Yeah, it sounds like everybody needs to be pretty flexible on a show like that to wear a lot of different hats.
Yeah, again, the smaller the budget, the more you have to do, which in some ways is fun. It's more like back in my rock video days, where I was production designer and props and playing characters and stuff. You're just kind of doing whatever needs to be done. And these smaller budget puppet things, very often everybody does a couple things. I think everyone wore 3 hats on that show.
Yeah. Kind of, going way further back, to the days of like Return of the Jedi. On something like that, were you just specifically doing puppeteer? But
no, creatures. I was building creatures. Yeah,
Nice.
I was hired at the creature shop, and for about a year we built all those creatures. We did everything in Marin County except for Jabba, Bib Fortuna, and the Ewoks. So Stuart Freeborn did, and Yoda, I guess. So Jabba, Yoda, who had already existed, Bib Fortuna, and the Ewoks, and then we did everything else in Marin County. So I started like February, March of 1981, and we shipped right around Christmas, or either just before or just after Christmas.
Wow.
So we had about 9 or 10 months to build something like 45 creatures or something. It was crazy.
Man, with that amount of like creatures, like how many guys are you working with in the shop? Is it just sounds like an army, but
it wasn't. There was full time was Phil Tippett, Dave Carson, Wesley Seeds, Eben Stromquist, Stuart Ziff, myself, Randy Dutra, let's see, Judy Elkins, Dan Howard, Jeannie Lorenz. There was about 12. I'm forgetting a couple. It was about, I was going to say 12, 13 of us.
Wow.
And everyone had different, skill sets. I was molding, casting, and painting. So I would help mold the things and then cast them. And then I set up I was basically ran the paint shop. That was the thing I did that was 100% me, was set up and run the paint shop and paint most of the creatures. Phil would do it like on Akbar.
Wow.
Where there's like 9. There's one of the pictures that I signed for autographs is me with like 8 Akbar heads, or Mon Calamari, I should say, Mon Calamari heads behind me. So Phil painted the Admiral himself, and then I would take that paint job and do variations on it for background Mon Calamari. And sometimes they would just give me the maquette, the little sculpt that was painted, and I would just match that.
Cool.
Because we usually had to do a couple of each creature, not all of them.
Yeah. Depending on the different things that they had going on,
like the stunt heads,
uses.
The skiff guards. We had 2 or 3, or I think 2 of those each, just in case they were screwed up. But like Droopy McCool and Cy Snoodles, they were just one-offs.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
God, that's so cool. From going from that project, did you just transition right into Gremlins with Joe Dante?
Pretty much. I did a little bit of work on, let's see, it was on Poltergeist, Star Treks 2 and 3.
Oh,
because I was at ILM, and then I went on to Gremlins with Chris Wayless, who was going to be in the creature shop on Jedi, and he had done all the stuff on Dragon Slayer and Raiders of the Lost Ark, and then he went off and started his own shop. So he and I were pals. And he got Gremlins, and so I was done kind of at ILM. They didn't have a big creature job that year, so I went over and worked and helped set up the Gremlin mold paint shop. I designed their paint job. I painted all their eyes, and then did puppeteering down in LA. So that was fun. That was a crazy project. I have some good memories from that. It was we made an army of Gremlins for not a lot of money.
Wow. It seems like, so many of these projects, it's just by the skin of your teeth, both with personnel and finance.
Here's the thing. You're inventing something. No one had ever made a Gremlin before. No one had ever done a movie with 100 different creatures all doing different gags. We had specific ones, like the plate thrower and the the flasher. They all were kind of made to do specific things. And then we just had generic, puppet Gremlins with usually 2. We were below camera with 2 on our hands, trying to not do match them so it looks like 2 different creatures. So it's always kind of by the skin of your teeth, because it's not like, give me the 50 number 2s. You're just inventing this, which was also the fun of it. I was giving a talk about just kind of creativity in being a creative entity and worker in a corporate kind of environment where it's not about the art, it's about can you get it done on time and on budget. So that's always there. I know everything I work on tends to be like, we don't have that's the joke every time you start a project. Well, we don't have a lot of money on this. Oh, really?
Right.
And then you hear about Gremlins 1 between Gremlins 2. Now, Gremlins 2 was done by Rick Baker. It was amazing. Yeah. But I think his budget, and also he had to make, I think, 100 different Gremlins. We were just cranking out basically the same sculpt, same mold, different, maybe a little different paint job, where we added, hair for Spike. I think Rick made something like 80 or something different Gremlins with different personalities. So his budget was 10 times ours, but literally 10 times our budget. But again, he did, 10 times the work. So you're always, because you were doing it the first time.
Yeah.
Until you're on a TV series where you're making, Spock ears or something, where it's like, okay, we know that. Yeah. And then it becomes a factory job, which nobody wants that. At least nobody goes in the entertainment business wants a factory job. Gremlins became a factory job. We're just cranking out eyeballs and cranking out Gremlins and cranking out the paint job. But again, it's what is it, show and business, and we were the show, and then you've always got the business guys saying, well, this is your budget, and so you make it work. But that kind of creative bouncing off those walls, whatever they are, those restrictions with Christine and Gremlins and all that, is part of the fun. It's like, look what we pulled off.
Yeah, to like sum it up, I guess it'd be like limitations breed innovation.
Absolutely. I mean, I have a whole theory about, like, if you look at directors and once they get their hit movie and suddenly they're given an unlimited budget, well, not unlimited, but much more larger budgets, and they get more control over the script. They don't have as many people giving them notes, or kind of more yes men. Then their stuff gets flabby, because I mean, any director, you can go from Spielberg all the way down to Joe Dante to pretty much anyone. The guys who have some giant hit and suddenly, now they're a genius. Yeah, and not to say they aren't geniuses, but I kind of do agree, and I hate it when it happens to me. But when you're given restrictions and walls to kind of keep you in a box, but sort of bottle it and go. And again, if you're creative, that's where you have to be creative.
Right.
All right. Here's your budget. Here's your schedule. Here's what the
how do you make this
producers want? How do we make that work? And then it's problem solving. It's creative problem solving, and most problem solving is creative because you're inventing something. So that is the fun. That at the core of whether you're making a movie or writing a script or creating a creature. For me, that's the fun of it. I'm inventing something to solve a problem and hopefully having some fun along the way.
Nice.
I mean, you obviously have to enjoy that.
Yeah. Around the time that Gremlins 2 was coming out, that was about the same time that, a little bit before then, that you got hired on at Jim Henson, right?
No, that was afterwards. So if you're going to do a timeline, it would be
okay.
Jedi,
Yeah.
Poltergeist, a little bit on ET. I painted ET's hands and arms.
Oh, cool.
Star Trek's 2 and 3, Gremlins, and then Star Trek. Oh, then actually rock videos with David Fincher. I did like 6 rock videos with Dave Fincher. We had a company up in the Bay Area, and then he moved to LA. Well, we both moved to LA. I forgot who went down first. I grew up in LA, so it was just kind of coming home for me. And then Star Trek 4. And so I didn't meet Jim Henson until I think 1986. Okay. It was the year Trek 4 came out. Nice. And I met Jim that summer, pretty much right after it had launched, or no, I guess that came out in November. So maybe it was the year after. It all blends together. Yeah. But I think it was 86, maybe 87 that I met Jim and started working with him. So yeah, I'd been in the business about 5-6 years before I met him. Oh, okay. Also in there, I storyboarded. I was originally hired to design the creature for Cat's Eye, and then I storyboarded the whole movie. Nice. With Louis Teague, and worked for Dino De Laurentiis. I had a lot. If you look at my career in the 80s, I did so much on so many things, and then it was basically Muppets through all Muppets through the 90s.
That's a nice little transition. But when you were doing Muppets too, you were transitioning to directing, producing, right? Right.
Well, I started character design, so that's where I started with Jim, and then the last thing he and I worked on was a show called Dinosaurs. We were just in the design. The concept, literally. So Jim, the way Jim worked, which was great if you're an artist, is he wouldn't bring in writers. He would bring in the artists and go like, here's what I am. Let's talk about like a sitcom with dinosaurs. So I started drawing stuff, and we were just riff. And we had gone through my second pass of ideating, just coming up with ideas and drawings and just kind of riffing with him, when he sadly passed away, I had lunch with him on a Friday. We'd gone over the sketches and had a nice chat. I was in New York. I'd moved back to LA, so I was in New York. I stayed over the weekend. I flew home on Monday. And I think Tuesday morning I got the call. I remember I hadn't been home more than less than 24 hours, and it was early in the morning. And they said that Jim had passed away, and I'm like, I thought he was like, I mean, how was it a car accident? Like,
yeah.
So it was about 4.5 years working on Muppety style things. I did the Jim Henson Hour. That was the thing that got made. I designed stuff that didn't happen in those first few years. And then I worked at Disney Imagineering for a year. I worked on RoboCop 2 for about 4 or 5 months.
Wow.
And then
that I didn't know. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. If you've seen the movie, there's 2 parts I did. The first one is there's a column of liquid with a brain and a spine and eyeballs in it. I designed that, and I built half of it, and then I broke my hand and I couldn't finish it. And then
no.
I designed and built the brain. We called it the brain box that at the end he pulls out of the what's his name, Kane, and smashes on the ground. We had to make a pulpy smashing brain and a liquid filled canister or something that has wires on it, so it looks like it. So those are my 2 little contributions at working at Phil Tippett's shop in the Bay Area. And then I started Dinosaurs. So I'd done that. I'd done Imagineering. I worked in Imagineering on a redo of what was America Sings. It was the Carousel Progress Building. It was fun. It was an alien circus. So each little section of the pie was going to be an alien circus act. And so they were going to turn that building into a crashed spaceship, which was fun. It was a fun idea. And then we started on Dinosaurs. So I was consulting in Imagineering on that, and then Muppet movie rides. They were going to do a bunch of Muppet stuff. The only thing that came out of it was a 3D movie, which I did a little work on the Waldo character, the spirit of 3D. And then Dinosaurs happened. So it was kind of like boom, boom, boom. The 80s were amazing, especially me, ranting a little bit about how, everyone wants IP now, not original ideas. And the 80s was all original ideas. Like, what's new? What's cool? And now it's like, what do we own? What can we leverage? Oh, we own Barbie. Let's make a Barbie. And again, sometimes it's great. Barbie, I hear, is great. I haven't seen it yet. The Lego movie, when I heard that, I'm like, oh my God, the Lego movie, really? And it was great. So, if you get really creative people behind it, you can do that. But all these things that they're remaking or rebooting now, the Gremlins animated series, all 90 RoboCop, Terminator, it's all stuff that came out of the 80s when studios were chasing the next hot idea, not what's a kid's book or something we can, I think Harry Potter really launched the what's the young adult novel series we can turn into a movie series.
Yes, so much of yesteryear's originals have become the current known IPs.
And it's I know there were fans of the Game of Thrones books,
right?
And either they loved or hated the series, but as a person who's that's the one thing, again, going back to Jim Henson, he wanted creative people, not people who could take Kermit and do another version of Kermit. What's a fun idea that's not. That was one thing. Jim loved the Muppets, but he wanted to do Dark Crystal and Labyrinth and all the things he was, and Dinosaurs. He was always pushing the envelope. He embodied that creative spirit of what's new, what's cool, what's fun, what can we do next, as opposed to what can we leverage. And I miss that terribly. Even the Muppets at Disney, they're like, what can we double down on that we already have? And Haunted Mansion was a nice mashup. So it's not, like I said, it's not always bad. And I love doing Haunted Mansion. But, I also want to do a Muppet Western. I wrote a Muppet space parody back in the 90s called Muppets in Space. And it was not the movie that came out. It was basically a sort of roughly like Galaxy Quest, where Kermit's mistaken.
Cool.
Kermit and the key Muppets, except for Miss Piggy, go through space cadet training, and they're the cleanup. They're literally the janitors on the Enterprise, more or less, and they're considered completely expendable, like the red shirts, and they're beamed aboard an alien spaceship to see if because it's coming towards Earth. and there's nothing on it. And long story short, they push a button and they get sent to the other part of the other complete end of the galaxy. And because Kermit is green and this right size, he is the prophesied messiah for this entire. It's not just a race, like an entire.
Like a quadrant or something.
Galaxy. Yes, of all these different races. And so
nice.
He's the great Shazoo, I think he was called, and he was going to lead. He was going to lead this flotilla, this huge armada of ships to welcome everyone. The Great Welcoming was called. But the payoff, the gag was that when these aliens are excited, they blow themselves up, which to me is classic Muppet.
Yep.
And so to them, that was in fact, one of the lines was, "I explode with joy," and then they'd literally explode. And so they were going to go, well, and then again, the Muppets are like, well, we want to go back to where we're from. Like, because now that Kermit is the great leader, and they said, what's your, what do you want to do? He says, oh, I want to go back to where I come from. This great. We will welcome them with joy. So this entire flotilla is heading towards Earth to blow it up. So it was, and they have to figure out how to stop it. And of course, anyway, it was a lot of fun. So, yeah, I just want to do, and it was a lot of parody of Star Wars and Star Trek and Aliens and Terminator. That just kind of like a very Muppety movie, but really making fun of sci-fi stuff, which again I love. Yeah, and have worked on. So yeah, man,
that's cool. Hopefully, you can see that come to fruition.
No, it's never going to get made.
No.
Well, also, I mean, Seth MacFarlane kind of plundered that territory, as did Galaxy Quest. I wrote the script before Galaxy Quest existed, or at least it wasn't a movie yet.
Yeah.
So it came out. I'm like, well, that stole the thunder a little bit, and then Seth MacFarlane, ground it to a nubbin with all his, which was great. I love those things.
Yeah.
But so you really couldn't make it now because pretty much most of the things I was making fun of the script were made fun of at some point. But back in 1996, 97, they hadn't been.
Yeah.
But again, just that genres. I think the Muppets do really well spoofing a genre, kind of like Monty Python.
Yeah. One thing I do love about the Muppets is I think they have like the most expansive and storied pantheon. I don't think like Disney characters have that, like Mickey Mouse and all those guys. I think the Muppets, Kermit and those guys are so much more versatile and can tell more personal and edgier stories too.
Well, I mean, we started doing it with Muppet Christmas Carol and Muppets Treasure Island, and that's what I loved. I mean, I know there's fans who think those are nice, but they really love are Piggy and Kermit Gonna Get Married and the new Muppet movies. Where I just think, how many stories can you tell about fake characters with fake problems? Right. And to me, I know they're beloved, but the TV series are good for that. But the movies, I think, should be an event where, like, the Muppets go west, the Muppets go Hawaiian, the Muppets fight aliens or become alien or whatever. And that's my opinion. And no one at Disney seems to care what my opinion is or listen to me. So I just don't work with them anymore.
Yeah, I'd love to see the Muppets take on Unforgiven.
I had Jerry Jewell. Jerry Jewell and I had an idea for a Muppet Western that we would talk about, and I got excited about doing. And then sadly, he passed away.
Yeah.
And then they just the Disney folks just don't want to listen to old Muppet writers.
Oh,
that's fine. I've moved on.
Yeah, but if you don't mind me asking, Kirk, I'm
a 56 regular.
Well, good. When you come out to Colorado Festival of Horror, I will have a new Tiki Bar shirt ready.
There you go.
Yeah, it'll have slashers on it, though.
Nice. Yeah, Slasher Hotel. Is the hotel okay with you calling it that?
We didn't ask, but so far they've been great working with us. It'll be a lot of fun having you out here. We'll be able to, screen like Muppets Haunted Mansion. So I think that'll be great for the kids. To be able to see that, and then pretty much, just meet with you and talk about more puppeteering and creature building, really world building.
Yeah, I mean that's. that's kind of it. People are like, well, what's your favorite thing to do? And you always get asked this in meetings with executives, you know, when you're looking for work or they're looking for someone to run their show. And it's like, I like to do everything. I like drawing, I like designing the characters, I like writing the characters, I like doing their voices, I like performing them, I like acting, I like writing songs. I think most creative people have more than one outlet. You just get, you know, you just get famous for that one thing. I mean, Guillermo del Toro is an amazing artist.
Yeah.
You know, he's known as director, but he's also an amazing artist. He did makeup and creatures, and, you know, Rick Baker makes amazing little short films. Like, you know, Kevin McTurk, who's a good pal of mine, has an amazing Kickstarter right now called, well, he's done these movies, The Haunted Swordsman. The new one's an Icelandic Tale, but just the amazing puppet short films that are gothic and horror. You guys are a horror thing. You should actually, he'd be a great guest for you because he does these dark horror short films, and they're beautifully done. And he gets like Christopher Lloyd to do the voices. And yeah, look him up, Kevin McTurk.
Kevin McTurk.
Nice. You can find him. He's got a Kickstarter that's still going, but you can find his other pieces, short films he's done. But they're like gothic horror puppet films, but they're not Muppets. They're more like classic Moon Raku puppetry and just gorgeous stuff. And you know, that's that kind of stuff that I love and I want to support. And you know, things like Kickstarter and YouTube have been great to promote people, and comedy too. Anyway, sorry, I'm going off track.
Oh no, that's off track is the only way to go.
I don't usually stay on track because my brain explodes with, oh yeah, and this I can talk about this.
Yep. No, I know that. It's that's the thing with the, you know, like the creative mind. You know, especially when you're multifaceted. It's like, you know, ideas beget ideas.
Yeah, and
it's spark.
It's riffing. It's yes and, you know, that's a big thing from improv is yes and I kind of live by that.
Oh, that's fantastic.
What's the Colorado horror scene like, or the Denver one in particular? Is there a big community, or?
It's a huge community. It's something that typically we're not really known for, but we are the largest haunt community in the country. We've got more haunts per per
capita.
It's just ridiculous. We've got the number one haunt in the U.S.
Which one is that?
Terror in the Corn.
Wow.
It's 2 square miles of corn maze cut out, and you're traveling in there, and the way they do the set design, you don't know if you're inside or you're outside until if you go on a nice clear night where the stars are out. That's how you know.
Wow.
Because you can see the stars and the moon kind of shine through. But it's absolutely brilliant. I'm one of those suckers that I'm terrible to take to a haunted house because I look at the details and say, this is cool. I love what you did. And the actors are chasing after me with the chainsaw. It's like, don't even bother with this guy.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm like, wow, nice. Look at makeup, man. Way to do a jump scare.
Yeah.
Actually, I have a friend of mine, Adam Doherty, Creature Kid, has a shop in Denver or in Colorado.
We're good friends.
In Denver. Yeah, I was saying Adam should be a guest because he makes great stuff. I'm a big fan of his work.
He's great. I think he's working on a short film with Daniel Roebuck.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, and he just got signed on to do a couple more feature films. I think his first.
He was
film,
out in Portland.
Onyx.
I just saw. Yes, Onyx. The Impressive.
The Fortuitous.
The Fortuitous. Yes, I think they wrapped that. I just saw him out in Portland. He was doing pickups on something, and I was up there seeing friends. And Adam's great. So you do have a little creature making community there.
Yeah, we definitely do. My girlfriend and I are working on a animatronic puppeted feature called "When Baked Things Attack."
Nice. When baked, like cookies baked.
Yep, cupcakes. Yeah, killer cupcakes.
So I don't think this has ever been shown except at the live shows. So at the Muppets of the Hollywood Bowl, and I think we showed at the O2. I wrote and directed a short we show as an interstitial. You have the Puppeteer's Arms of Rest. It was called The Walking Bread.
Nice.
And it was the Swedish chef. Yep. And he's all geared out with a gun and a skillet and all this. And he goes into, a cobwebby, dusty, looks like a storage facility. and there's all these baked goods that come alive like Muppet Food does.
Yep.
But so we made Muppet Zombie cupcakes and bread and all this, and
Yep.
they're going grains.
Yes.
And he's killing. It was really fun, and it was a short that I wish they would show, but they kind of saved it. I don't know if you can see it online now, but it was done specifically for the live shows as kind of a special. But yeah, I love that. I love that idea. And again, it's great. I wish you all the best. Oh,
thanks. Yeah, we've got Distortions Unlimited in Greeley. So they're doing all the animatronics. I grew up around them. So yeah, it was so much fun.
True. Greeley, how far is Greeley from you guys?
It's an hour north. Yeah, just 50 miles.
Not bad.
Yeah. Yeah. If you want, when you're out here, we'll take you up there. I think Ed and Marcia might stop by for the con. They're one of our sponsors.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. So it'll be fun. We can't wait to have you out, Kirk.
I'm excited. I have a bunch of friends that live in and around the Denver area. So I, as you know, coming out a couple days early to hang and see some pals and, sample the local beer.
Yeah, lots of beer.
And
so much beer.
Yeah. Beer and marijuana you guys are known for. It's funny you talked about haunted mansions. My whole start was making haunted mansions at my house with my friends for Halloween. Not haunted mansions, but haunts, but literally just my front porch. And I dress up and we do little scenarios. I just was a huge Halloween fan. So it is funny like that. And Ray Harryhausen movies.
Oh, yeah.
Both kind of, and Disneyland. Those three things kind of inspired me. The other thing that's interesting, I don't know if you talk about this much, but the comedy and horror are basically the same thing.
Yes.
As a writer and a director, it's like you build up and it's either a laugh or a scare, but structurally they're almost the same. And like things like Evil Dead kind of, walk that line. There's a lot of, and there's a lot of just straight horror but I would say that's where my heart lives, in that sort of mix. And Muppets, obviously Haunted Mansion is that. I mean, that was more comedy than horror, but that kind of, again, Evil Dead, that sort of slightly campy or ridiculous, like your idea, your baked things. It's fun, but it can still be scary. I mean, Charles Band movies, Ghoulies, all that stuff. I love that. And horror is an interesting genre for films because it does you get more original ideas in horror than I think any other. If you're going to go pitch an idea and it's a horror thing and you can do it for under $3 million, it'll probably get made because they know they'll make their money back. And it is interesting why that is, as opposed to I have a comedy with creatures in it or something. Like comedies are a tough sell right now. And I don't know if anyone makes comedy movies anymore. I mean, if they do, it's either because there's some huge actor attached. But horror just cranks on, man. I mean, they just keep making movies.
Yeah, I think horror is like one of those platforms where you can really it's incredibly accessible. Like that's something that even if it comes out now and it's not even a good film and it goes, lives on streaming or whatever capacity it exists in 10, 15 years, it'll have an audience. It'll find some way to exist. It just builds itself.
And there's something about the what's the word I used to use about Muppet movies in particular? It's an event. Like there's an outrageousness to it, whether it's comedy or blood everywhere, Tom Savini kind of stuff, where something about the circus level of like, you're not going to see that in a Shakespeare play. You're not going to see that in a drama. You're not going to see it in a Chris Nolan movie.
Right.
And there's something about kind of playing to the cheap seats. Like people love it because it's just fun and it's disposable. It's like, this is fun. I laughed. I jumped. I thought it was crazy. When the eyeballs flew out and went up the guy's nose, the Evil Dead stuff. It's like, how can we top that? I love that. Again, particularly about horror, it's a really wide playing field, from all the really scary stuff that they're doing now. And they've always done, back in The Exorcist or whatever, to, psychological horror, to just completely bananas, over the top, brain eating zombie stuff.
Yep. it's all, you know, absolute fun and gold. But you know, it's like the movies that you see like winning awards these days. I mean, great films.
Yeah.
But you know, after the award season next year, you don't hear anybody talking about them.
Yeah.
But they're still talking about the latest Evil Dead movie, or you know, the Winnie the Pooh movie, you know, which is kind of an event.
That's the weird new trend of like, oh, it's, you know, the Banana Splits movie, Winnie the Pooh, the
copyright free stuff.
Five Nights at Freddy's. I'm amazed no one has done an Alice in Wonderland horror film or Wizard of Oz horror movie, probably because there's a lot of money to spend. Usually horror doesn't have those kind of budgets where you're building that whole world. Something about that, particularly with Muppets Haunted Mansion, we were talking about. Building your backgrounds, and again, it helped the Muppets. You can kind of go stylized, but doing it on the computer saved a ton of money. I mean, there's no way we could have built the Haunted Mansion, you know, as sets. So, and what Unreal Engine, which is what we use, which seems to be the go-to, does really well as kind of bland, boring background. You know, you want a rotten, you can go online on Unreal Marketplace and buy a haunted house. Like they literally have a haunted house. Textures and everything. So,
wow.
I've even talked about just even doing a trailer to sell the idea, just kind of shooting your actors on green screen, doing it, you know, and having a couple makeup effects. And that's the other thing that's fun is kind of the YouTube universe where you can, you know, you can make it, you can show it.
There's an audience there. Yeah.
Kickstarter too. Yeah. It's that's kind of where the creativity is now with people who are just going to go screw it. I mean, you know, Onyx, the Fortuitous, that's kind of a single guy's vision.
Very much so. Should be in theaters. They got a distribution deal. Should be in theaters later this fall.
Buy your popcorn now.
Yes, exactly. Definitely go support, you know, innovative, creative indie art. I mean, it's the punk rock scene. It's the DIY aspect.
Well, do you guys have an Alamo Draft House in Denver?
Oh, we have several.
Oh, okay. I figured you. I thought you did. Yeah, I mean, they're the kind of place that really, you know, where fans of this kind of stuff go. And obviously, punk rock. Punk rock movie making.
Most definitely. Kirk, I want to say, you know, thank you for being so generous with your time and talking about, you know, all your amazing art and all the fun things, cool things that you've done to enrich, you know, my childhood and my adulthood. I'm still
enriched it, or I deformed your minds.
Well, that's the best thing for us, even if we don't know it. But it's been great. Yeah, being able to chat with you and learn more about all the cool things that you do. And for everybody out there, thanks for tuning in. And of course, you know, remember, Kirk's going to be out here. September 15th through the 17th.
About a month,
for Colorado Festival of Horror. Make sure to go to our website, to cofestivalofhorror.com, to get your tickets and to meet this amazing, talented guy.
You can
multifaceted.
Touch my beard and smell me, which is a huge thing that people say. I smell unlike anyone else.
Well, you know,
speaking of horror,
compared to me, you're going to smell amazing.
No, I actually haven't been to Denver in years. We went there a few times as a kid, and last time I was there, I was in Boulder on a job.
Oh, cool.
A video game thing. So I'm looking forward to it. And again, I have good friends who live there, so I'm hanging with them. But I'll be signing your stuff, my stuff. I assume I'm giving a talk or two about whatever.
Yep.
Looking forward to it.
Oh, that's great. Cool. Well, Kirk, stay around for a little bit. Oh, there's Elise, my girlfriend, chimed in.
Thanks, Elise.
Yay! So, but yes, stick around for a minute while we sign off. But again, thanks so much, sir.
Sure. Thank you. This was fun.
Oh, appreciate it. And to everybody that tuned in, thanks so much, guys. And of course, to our sponsors, to Mutiny Information Cafe. If you're going to start a revolution, make sure you're caffeinated. And to Hellfire Entertainment, thanks so much for rebroadcasting us on your social media. Groovy TV, and of course to Alien Donut Films and Angela Joseph Productions, to Bill and Angela over there respectively. Thanks so much, guys. To my producers, Lily Fisher and Amanda Armstrong and Stefan Samonicris. Thanks for putting up with me. And to everybody out there, have a good night. Be good, be kind, help each other out, and stay spooky, my friends. Till next time.